All right, what's going on, guys? It's Ryan again. This is my friend Bowden. You may have seen him in an earlier video, maybe not, but you will be seeing him more often in the future. This is my coworker. We've been friends since he got here to the base in Korea. And today we're going to be talking about the top 3 workout tips and the top 3 nutrition tips. So he's going to focus on the workout side. I'm going to focus on the nutrition side. We're going to start off with Bowden. So, Bowden, what is your number 1 fitness tip?
All right, so my number 1 fitness tip, you need to have a good understanding of your rep ranges.
Okay.
So if you're trying to build strength, if you're trying to cut, or if you're somewhere in the middle and you kind of just want to have size and maybe build a little bit, you have to know which rep ranges you need to hit when you're doing exercises to actually target those goals. So for example, if I was doing strength, to put it as simply as possible, if I was doing bench, squat, or deadlift, I would probably keep it under 5 reps, 6 maybe max. And then if I was trying to do hypertrophy or growing size, muscle building, I would kind of want to be in the middle ranges, which is about 8 to 12, 7 to 12. And then above that, I would say for cutting, it would be 12 to, I like to go up to 20. A lot of people say 15 for textbooks. So, and there's a couple other small things just to pay attention to. Time in between sets. If you're cutting, it's a lot shorter. If you're building strength, I would definitely say you have more time so you can actually rebuild those stores and go into that next set, giving it everything you have.
You like training strength the most. That's
absolutely,
where you perform the best, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So what's the typical strength workout rep range for you whenever you do strength?
Okay, so yeah, strength is definitely a strength of mine. I would say for me personally, if I was going to train, I would start with reps of 6 if I was starting from scratch, I would start with reps of 6 just to get my body used to the idea of lifting. 8 preferably, but I have a little more experience, so I like starting with 6 if I'm starting a strength phase. Okay. And then I would try to work on 5 and then target some 3s as well. I do not like going below that. Sometimes I'll do reps of 1, but whenever I do those, it's not my maximum effort. I do not ever do a max out with full strength, all the weight I can on the bar in a regular lift. That's only competition time. I usually do maybe up to like 95% at max. Something that I can get up with not giving it everything but close to it, because it causes people to burn out, which is a big misconception. I would never advise, and I don't do this for my clients, advise them to max out regularly. A lot of people want to max out all the time, but it actually makes you lose strength. So you have to stay consistent with your actual workout program and stay in between those rep ranges.
All right, so that was awesome. So I hope you guys got some value out of that first tip. We still got 2 more left for Bowden, and then I'm going to get into my first nutrition tip right now. And I'm excited about this one because this is something that I've been doing. If you've been watching my Instagram, it's something I've been showing you guys over the last 6 to 8 months. I've been in a cut. I just got into a bulk. And so a lot of people don't understand what that means. What is a cut? What is a bulk? How do you tell the difference? Like, is a bulk just eating whatever you can, like pizza, ice cream, whatever? Or what? So the main concept that I want to get across is called macro manipulation. Okay, macro manipulation. Macro means macronutrients. What are macronutrients? Well, that's going to be your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats. Now, you can break down all of those into calories. So how many calories are in a protein? You're going to get 4 calories in a protein. How many are in carbs? You're going to get 4. So it's 4, 4, and then for fats, it's 9. For today, I really just want to focus on how you basically get to your maintenance calories, which is how you maintain your weight. Maintenance means maintaining your weight. So think of it this way. Like when I started my bulk, I needed 3,000 calories to maintain my weight. You can go online and get look at different calculators, like macronutrient calculators. You can just Google that. The best one is the Mifflin St. Jeor. That seems to be the most accurate. And I found it to be pretty accurate for myself. It's all based on weight, age, and activity level. So what was I taking in? I was taking in about 3,500 calories a day. And I just tracked it with my Fitbit app. And I had a Fitbit that on my wrist that I would just use to track all my calories throughout the day, walking everywhere. And what I would do is once I put in all of that food, and it would track all of my steps and I would log my workouts for the day, then I would get a rough estimate. It's not going to be exact, but you want a rough estimate of where your calorie surplus is for that day if you're bulking. So that's all that bulking really means, is you're getting a surplus of calories. The reason why I would go 500 over is because that basically is gonna mean that you're gonna gain 1 pound per week. That's just how the body works. And that's the same for everybody. 500 calories per day adds up to 3,500 calories per week, okay? And 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of body fat or muscle or whatever. That's when it starts to get kind of confusing. But
definitely it's confusing.
So if you're strength training, you're probably gonna be putting on more than 1 pound a week, okay? If you're training like consistently every day, yeah, you're gonna be, and that's why whenever I do fully go into strength training programs, I tend to gain 2 to 3 pounds per week if I'm really serious about it, because you can lift so much more when you're in a calorie surplus. So that's what it means to bulk. All right, so the next is gonna be cutting. So how do you define cutting? Well, cutting is just the opposite. So basically you're gonna be in a caloric deficit. So what were you gonna do for a caloric deficit? You're gonna go 500 under your maintenance calorie. I just wanted to clear that up so that you guys know the difference between bulking and cutting. In the description below, I'm gonna attach a link to the Mifflin St. Jour macro calculator so that you can figure out what your macros are. Next, we're gonna talk about Bowden's number 2 fitness tip. Go ahead.
So my number 2 fitness tip, I would say it's stretching and mobility. And I tie this in with form because when you're flexible and you have very good mobility, you're able to go through the full range of motion, ROM, range of motion in a lift. And this is so detrimental when it comes to trying to build muscle and be effective when it comes to your lifting. What a lot of people end up doing is going straight to the gym, taking their pre-workout, doing a couple warm-up sets, and heading straight into their sets. And that's where a lot of injury happens. And I try to avoid that. And I find that I have really good workouts when I do proper dynamic warm-ups and a little bit of mobility before my workouts. I get onto the bike or the stair stepper, depending on what I'm doing. If I'm doing legs, I usually like to do the stair stepper. It's a little more resistance. I'll do that for about 3 to 5 minutes. So most of the time I'll do 4. I'll get off, clean it off, and then I'll go into one of the aerobic rooms and I'll place down a mat and I'll go through a couple different dynamic warm-up stretches and mobility exercises. After I'm done doing my mobility workout and my stretching, I'm pretty warmed up. I have a good sweat going, and I prefer to have that sweat going. If I'm not having that sweat going or feeling a little bit of burn in my exercises, I try to do a little bit more. I take about 20 minutes to warm up, and then I'll go into my lift, and then I do my static stretching at the end. If I'm crunch down time, this is something that a lot of people push away from, including myself, you have to have that fight of trying to finish a workout and or stretching after. My personal advice, and I think that everyone should use this, is to shorten your workout, maybe do a couple more supersets, if anything, just to do what you have to do, and then take that extra 20 minutes at the end to stretch. Your muscle's like a rubber band. If it's hot, it'll stretch a lot easier. Now, if it's cold, it's gonna break. As soon as you pull onto it, it's gonna break. It's the exact same way. Stretching is so important. It allows your muscles to loosen up and get the lactic acid out so you can actually recover a lot quicker and you're not tightening up. That's why people are so sore the day after. DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, it's huge. And if you're stretching consistently after your workout, that night before you go to bed, in the morning, it just makes that DOMS not nearly as bad. So just to tie it all together, stretching and mobility, it's so important. When you're more flexible, you're able to go through the full form. And I try to emphasize on form when it comes to anybody who's working out. Form allows you to grow so much faster if you're going through the full range of motion. You ever seen the people doing the half squats? It allows you to break down more muscle fibers so you can actually grow an area of your body more quicker.
All right, so that was number 2 for Bowden. Now we're gonna jump on to my number 2 for nutrition. Now, nutrition, the next thing I would say, the best thing is clean eating. So what does clean eating mean? I think we all have a picture, an idea of clean eating. I think we think rabbit food or something like that. Yeah. Like salads every day, all day. I was more of a veggies on the plate kind of guy. I would get 2 to 3 servings of veggies and or fruits every single meal. So that's my idea of clean eating. Now, when it comes to your protein, like what comes to mind when you think of that?
Chicken,
fish,
turkey. Is great. Ground turkey's big.
Ground turkey, yeah, exactly. So, and everybody knows these things. It's just, it's not always something that we, like when we're hungry and we see the roast beef sandwich and we see the ribs and we see, and it's amazing. It's good stuff, I'm telling you. But as far as clean eating goes, if you're trying to lower that you need to go lean proteins like chicken, fish, and turkey. But what you want your plate to look like is probably about 50% at least veggies and fruits. And those are going to give you the most nutrition as far as your micronutrients like your vitamins and minerals, as well as give you some fiber and stuff to keep you filled up. And one thing I also wanted to mention is beans. Beans, people have this weird reputation with beans or what they think of beans. You think of, you know what you think of when you think of beans.
Yeah.
Beans are really important though. They get things moving. You need to be
you
need to be digesting all your food properly. You know, you should be going like at least once every other day, I would say. So minimum. It's at minimum, you know. So especially if you're bulking, okay? It's a whole nother animal there.
Yes.
But when you're cutting, it's also great because beans have lots of fiber and it helps fill you up. But my typical plate is gonna look like at least 2 to 3 servings of veggies, fruits, and then a side of beans, and then maybe a side of rice if I'm feeling like it, and then a side of protein or 2. It just depends on the meal. Honestly, I tend to go lighter earlier in the day, and then as I get towards dinner, I'm gonna build up and do more food at the end of the day. And the main reason of that is energy. Because when you eat a lot of food in one sitting, that takes your energy away because now you have to digest so much more. So that's a huge thing for me. And then also just water. Guys, I think a lot of people underestimate the power of drinking water. You see people walking around with the gallons, you're like, oh, look at this guy. People tend to think it's like an obnoxious thing, but there's a reason why they're doing that. Especially if they're trying to put on weight in the gym, you need water. Water is what moves everything through the body. You've heard it. We're 70% water, right? So it's so important to get water. I drink personally 1.5 gallons to 2 gallons a day. You're clean eating. You want to stay away from your really high fat foods, like unnecessarily fat foods, like your fries, your cheese burritos and stuff like this. You want to stay away from that. You know what it is. You know what it is. You know, and your digestive system is gonna thank you so much. It's gonna thank you so much, and everything's gonna move smoother, and you're just gonna be good to go. So that's my second tip for nutrition side. So now we're gonna jump into Bowden's third tip, and that is.
So this is my favorite one, and one that a lot of people actually aren't aware of. My third tip is mind-muscle connection. I think I was watching Pumping Iron. It is, Pumping Iron. It's very good with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and this is the first one, it's the first generation one. And Arnold was actually talking about mind-muscle connection, and they talk about the fact that it takes years to build it and how effective it is to actually growing your muscles. When I discovered it, I really focused on it, and it allowed me to grow a lot faster than the average person. I would describe mind-muscle connection as your ability to think and really direct your focus on the muscle that you're working. So for example, if I'm doing biceps, a lot of people's favorite, and I'm doing a curl. If I'm doing the curl, as I'm lifting the weight up, I am mentally focused on my bicep. I'm not thinking about me holding the weight. I'm not thinking about where my hand is on my hip. I am focused on my bicep. And as I'm lifting the weight, this is why a lot of people look at their muscles most of the time. It's not a narcissistic thing. There's like, oh, I'm looking good. They're really trying to focus on the muscle they're building to allow it to grow. And it's so effective. And as I'm lifting it, I'm literally thinking about the fact that I am squeezing this muscle. I'm flexing it as hard as I can. I want to squeeze as hard as I can to really make it effective. And as I'm bringing it down, and this is probably the most important part in my opinion, I'm thinking about the stretching of the muscle. And this is where a lot of the growth happens, because this is where the muscle fibers are literally tearing apart. It's not on a great scale, so you're not hurting yourself, but they're tearing apart as I'm bringing it down. And when they're stretching, I'm bringing it right back up and thinking about my bicep, only my bicep, and squeezing it. And you just do it over and over and over. And that's how you build mind-muscle connection. And that's where the growth really, really, really takes off. If you're able to connect mentally with the muscles that you're working, the sky's the limit.
All right, so that was number 3 for Bowden. That's going to wrap it up for the actual fitness workout tips, and then back over to nutrition. So I'll give you my number 3. So number 3 is going to be diet hacks. Now this is important, especially when you're cutting. Bulking is not as much. You don't have to hack so much, but I can also give you one for that. I'll start out with bulking actually. So for me, bulking, I found it very difficult to actually eat the same amount of food that I did in my previous bulk. What I do as a hack to eat more is I actually just eat multiple meals throughout the day. When I was cutting, I was doing 2 meals a day. Now I'm doing 3 big meals a day when I'm bulking, and I'm actually getting snacks in between there. So I might do 2 to 3 snacks on top of the 3 meals. Now, I'm gonna go into more of the cutting side. In the cutting side, I think this is where most people could gain value, because it's like, how do I get that 6-pack, right? I would say the biggest priority for losing weight is getting full, right? Because everybody has cravings. When you're in a caloric deficit, your body craves food. It's not getting enough. For me, the biggest help was fiber. I take a fiber supplement. You can do the Benefiber or Metamucil or whatever you want, but as long as you get a fiber supplement, I take one with my protein shake. I take one sometimes just after a big meal, and it actually helps so much with just filling you up. And then also with the digestion side, right? We know fiber is great for digestion, and you need fiber in your diet. I don't think people get enough fiber in their diet.
Absolutely.
And so it was a game changer for me. So fiber also combined with lots of water. We touched on that earlier. So definitely get your water in there. Make sure everything, that fills you up too. I drink a glass of water, at least 8 ounces every single meal. And you can do it, especially if you want to do it before your meal, so you can help fill yourself up. That's huge, and it helps you digest.
Yes.
And you're helping to get your water goal for the day. So water is another one. Just in general, more protein is good. Protein fills you up pretty fast. I don't know if you've ever had a protein shake and you're like, I'm not really hungry now. So, protein can help you. Just if you want to supplement that. Also, one of our favorites is caffeine. So we actually did a no caffeine challenge not too long ago.
We should do another one too.
Yeah, we should do another one. But it was fun to see who could last longer. I won. Yeah, so I did. But basically, caffeine is cool because especially if you start off the day. When you start off the day, you're trying to lose weight, right? You're already fasting throughout the whole night, which means no food, and you take some caffeine in the morning. That's an appetite suppressant, and it's natural. So if you like coffee, even if you don't like coffee, find a supplement that you can take that will give you some energy in the morning while suppressing your appetite. And then you can actually go for longer periods than you would think without eating. And that's a huge hack that I think people should be taking advantage of when they're trying to lose weight. All right, so one final note for the caffeine side. I talked about protein. What happens when you combine them, right? So this is one of my favorite things. He knows. Yes. This is one of my favorite things. So I actually brew my own coffee. It's cold brew. I use chocolate soy milk from the dining facility because it's free. Okay, and I actually put a half scoop of my protein in the coffee, and the protein already has sweeteners in it, and it's low calorie. You're not getting any sugar in there, so it's perfect. So you put half a scoop of protein in your coffee, 8 ounces of coffee, and you're good. It acts as a creamer. You're getting protein in the morning, and it acts as a suppressant for your appetite. What more could you ask for?
One last thing I wanted to touch on. When it comes to all of this, if you want to wrap it up, the most important thing out of all of this is nutrition. Focus on that first. It's 70%, if not more, when it comes to reaching your goals, whether that's strength, size, and or cutting. Focus on that first. Then try to tackle the fundamentals when it comes to building muscle or whatever your goal may be inside of the gym.
With that being said, that's going to wrap up the video, guys. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. We get obviously really excited about this kind of stuff.
Yes, all day.
We're all about fitness, nutrition, and it's just amazing. So I want to thank Bowden for coming on the show, because this is awesome. We do this every day. I mean, we love it. We love it. So if you like the content that's coming to you, definitely hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Throw a comment down below, guys. I want to hear what your questions are for us.
Yes.
I talk to this man every day, so if y'all got something for Bowden, let me know. Actually, I'm gonna give a shameless plug to his Instagram. So what's your Instagram? I'm gonna throw it in the description, but go ahead.
It'll be Zack Bowden Fit.
Zack Bowden Fit. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna throw it up on the screen somewhere. It's gonna be somewhere around here. But yeah, basically, that's gonna wrap it up, guys. Again, I appreciate it, and we'll see you all in the next video. Peace. All right, that's awesome. So for the stretching and mobility, what is your typical stretching?
What?
Why are you looking at me like that? Your eyebrow's raised. Why is your eyebrow raised?
I do that. That's a natural face thing of mine.
The resting eyebrow raise.
We need to have a bloopers. We need to have a bloopers. Quicker.
All right, more quicker. More quickly. That's okay. That's a blooper. I was gonna say antibiotics, but that's probably not. Probiotics, prebiotics. I'm not gonna get into all that.
I think I kind of scratched the surface in the beginning, but what I really learned what it was to describe it is I'm going a lot farther. I'm going so much deeper. Everything was so good. These bloopers are gonna be great.
Yeah, they're gonna be great.